Welcome back to Mystery Garage. In this week's episode, we get stuck back into the Red Rabbit. Now that we got a new plan of action, it's time to start getting a lot of stuff done, and I'm really looking forward to it. Oh yeah, and in this week's episode, we also have new parts. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Mystery Garage. Last week's episode, we talked about and pulled out this ABA, and we talked about how change of plans. We're going to start building an ABF clone for this car. It really started off inspiring me to get going on this car and start moving on it. So I have placed an order for a couple parts that are still to come. As I mentioned to you earlier, we've got some parts that have arrived, so I'm pretty excited about that. But what I want to do today at some point is start to take this motor apart a little bit. We'll pull the transmission off. We'll hopefully get it up on the engine stand. We'll take the 2-liter 9A down, and we'll be able to start looking into this motor and seeing the quality and how many kilometers and that sort of stuff it has on it. So I'm pretty excited about that. But first, before we get into that, I got something that's bothering me. 1 second. There we go. That's better. Now that we're moving into December and getting out of November and looking back at men's health, it was time to have the mustache, shave it off, and maybe my wife will kiss me now. But anyway, getting on to today's episode. I think what we're going to do first thing first is we're going to get into that 2-liter and get it up on that stand. So let's get to work. All right, so those of you who have never taken a transmission off, it's really just that simple. You watched me do it. Process in the car is more or less exactly the same. Only difference is your drive shaft bolts to this hub here, as well as the other side, so you want to drop those first. The engine mount that's on the back side of the transmission right here just has to come off, and then you just got these bolts you just undo, which go through to the block. So the only other thing I did take off is right here, these bolt through to hold on the starter, so when you pull the starter off. But really, it's just that simple. It's basically 5 bolts plus the little 10s on the bottom that hold on this dust shield. Judging by the condition of this clutch and how dusty it is, I can imagine this may be the original clutch. You can see by it's definitely the original flywheel, that's for sure. But as far as the clutch goes, I can imagine this is original. This probably is about in and around 150, 175,000 kilometers. So usually you do them around 110, I think. So maybe there's a possibility this has been changed, but I'm not 100% sure yet until I get further apart. But anyways, to blast off the flywheel and get access to the clutch, you just want to basically undo these bolts. You want to make sure when you're putting on or taking off a clutch that you take them off in some sort of sequence to make sure that you're not stressing the flywheel one way or the other. It really distorts everything, especially when you're putting it back on. You want to put it back on in a particular sequence. But like I said many times, this isn't a how-to. Let's get this thing off. All right, after looking at it now, it's definitely been replaced. Good evidence will tell you right there. So anyway, get access to getting this pressure plate off. What I normally do is just take a huge screwdriver, push it in there, and then just pop it out. It's harder to do it one-handed, but there we go. Remove this, and you got your access bolts to your pressure plate. So let's pull this off, and then my engine stand can just bolt to the transmission mounts. And I'm hoping that this coolant pipe generally isn't in the way, but it may be in this case. I don't know, we'll see. Should be fine. All right, let's get it off. All right, as you saw, that's pretty easy. It's all bolted on. One of the things I can tell looking at this now, it has been maintained very well because that's a new rear main seal, new freeze plug. So everything on this engine, when the clutch was done properly, so there's no corner cutting, which is nice. The other thing is, I'm not Hercules, and I don't actually have an engine crane handy. I do in one of my shops, but I'm actually just gonna lift that on there the easy way. All right, the ABA is up on the stand, and to be honest with you, I was going to start ripping into it this episode, but I'm having a really tough time concentrating when this box of really cool parts is just sitting right there. All right, I'm pretty excited. So I thought before I rip into this box, I'd quickly explain where this box came from and why it's here, what the plan was with it. So really early on in one of my episodes, I believe it was the VR6 walkthrough or one of those episodes, I started talking about how, you know, one day I hope to grow the channel and have the opportunity to start working with vendors that I've liked in the past, and, you know, maybe one day there'll be, you know, a sponsorship opportunity. I mentioned there's a couple parts companies that I really like to work with in that episode, and guy by the name of David who does Fast Bunny Metalworks, who I have used in the past when I used some of his parts to build my Mk1 VR6. Ended up reaching out to me and said he loved the content, said it was a pretty cool idea what I was working on here, and he said that he wanted to be a part or help or contribute to being a part of this channel and to really help out there. So I want to say thank you to David. He said he wanted to be a part of the build and had a great list of parts to offer. And so I went through his catalog and kind of ordered pretty much most of them and did pay for them myself. So it's not like he's been giving them to me and for me to talk it up. So I'm going to give an honest review of all these parts, especially once we get them into the car and we're using them and all that sort of thing. But having used this stuff in the past, it's really great quality. It's Canadian, locally made for us. Not local, but Canadian. So I was able to support another Canadian business. He's growing. It's great to see that. He's adding more products quite often. So check his website. I'll put the link in the description below. I'll probably also say something up on the screen, hopefully right here, to guide you to find his stuff. He's a great guy. He's great customer service. If you have any questions, feel free to ask him. Hit him on Instagram. Let's dig into it. I don't want to take up any more time talking about it. I actually want to start seeing and holding the parts. I haven't opened it yet, so I'm pretty excited about diving into it. And let's take a look. All right, there we are. So, sorry, unboxing for me is always so painful. But for any Mk1 guys out there, this is the holy grail or the mother load of stuff. So let's walk through with what we got. So up in the top here, you can see that is the reinforced core support for Mk1. So it hooks up to the bumper brackets right here and then reinforces that lower core support at the front of the engine. Fantastic product. It's really made out of heavy gauge metal, which is nice, and it's not too heavy, so it really makes up for adding the beef without adding the weight. So I think that's a great product there. Let's walk through this. This is the VR6 engine stand, so it allows me to bolt that up to our VR6, which you'll see in a future episode. We bolt that up to the VR6 and we can throw it up on that stand right there. Next to it, this is Fast Money Metalworks 18T engine mount. So this will be used in the truck. So we'll be throwing this in the truck to get that 18T to bolt up nice. Now this is the engine side mount where it mounts into the just shy of the passenger side tower. This is a product I think a lot of people should know because I've been hit up a bunch of people looking for tank straps for Mk1s. I do have tank straps in stock here, used ones that I can sell to people, but this is a much better option. This is Fast Money Metalworks stainless steel tank straps for a Mk1. They come padded on one side, and the tank strap itself is stainless, so you're not going to deal with any of the standard rust. It's got all the factory style ends on it, so it bolts up perfectly. Obviously these ones haven't been bolted up quite yet because they'll get a little bit of a curve to them once they're properly bolted up, but super excited about those. We'll be using them in the Red Rabbit here. Let's go this side first. You got the rear beam lowering brackets. So this allows you to
lower the rear beam by this part here bolts to the beam, this part here bolts to the stub, which allows you to lower your car without affecting too much suspension compression. Likewise, these are the front strut tower brackets that move the mounting point of the suspension up a little higher without wrecking hood clearance. So this will be a great product. We'll be using both of these in this Red Rabbit build. Also comes with all the strut bearing caps and that sort of stuff that go in the tops of these. Moving over, he gave me a bit of swag, which is nice. Thanks, David. And right here, this is for the VR6 guys. Any Mark II, Mark III, and Mark 1 converted guys. This is the fuel line brackets that go across the front of the valve cover for the AAA engines. It might actually work for a couple other ones too. You have to lean on David for that one. But these generally from Volkswagen come as plastic brackets. David's gone and made some aluminum ones. They got the Fast Bunny Metalworks engraving on it, which I think is pretty awesome. And my package here comes with two. I just didn't unwrap them both. Also comes with hardware. Everything here, by the way, comes with hardware. Supplies bolts for all of this stuff. Obviously not the bumper bolts, but the brackets for bolting that up. Bolts for this, bolts for that. Bolts for all your suspension pieces there. And last but not least, which is my favorite product that brought me to David in the first place, and I can see from this kit, it's a little bit updated from the one I bought. I bought mine years ago. He's done some R&D and continued to better the product. But this is a Hydro Mark 1 Hydro Clutch kit. So it allows you to put in a Hydro clutch without having the cable clutch and have everything fit inside underneath, more or less underneath the dash that hooks to the steering column, which subsequently in this car is right here. So it hooks, and I'll have to show you in a later episode, but it hooks up to the steering column and allows you to bolt this reservoir to it, and using this bracket here, which slips over the end. You can see that little part right there. My lighting's not the best. That little portion there, your pedal slips inside of there, bolts to this, and then it bolts to your yoke on the other side, which is right in there, which essentially bolts to the end of this, and then uses this master to power your slave cylinder. So what that ends up doing is it ends up completely hiding the clutch assembly, or the only thing you really see is this line that comes through the firewall, but the rest of it's all hidden. So it allows you to do a real shaved bay type scenario, which is awesome. So all of these products, if you guys are interested in any of them, please hit up David. Again, that's Fast Bunny Metalworks. It's got a great range of products. This isn't everything he has, but this is a good chunk of the stuff he has, all for, dedicated for Mark 1s. Now, I apologize. I know I didn't give you the best description of everything in the parts haul today, but I promise you when it comes time to installing those parts, we'll slow down, we'll talk about each one and why I chose to go that particular route. But I was actually just talking to David. He really loves supporting this channel, and he wanted to reach out to you guys and support you as well. He let me know he created a mystery 10% discount code site-wide for him, so I highly suggest you head over there. He didn't tell me how long he was going to keep it active, so head over there, find yourself something nice, and use the mystery 10 discount code, which is pretty awesome. Super excited about using all this stuff. I'll be throwing this in my White Rabbit. We'll be using these suspension components and the tank straps in my Red Rabbit. This might either be in the Red Rabbit or the truck, depending on what transmission I choose to go with for the Red Rabbit. But either way, this will be used pretty soon. And then the 1.8T engine bracket for a Mark 1 will be used in the pickup. So super stoked on all this stuff. Great load of products. He wrapped it up really well, as you saw. It took me a few minutes to get into it all, but I'm pretty pumped about it. And again, like I said, I'm dropping some of it, but he includes all the bolts, all properly labeled as to what you have and what it's for. Does a great job of packaging it all up. So again, not sponsored, but I want to say thank you to David and the team at Fast Bunny Metalworks for making this happen for me. Thanks again to you guys for sticking out for another episode. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being a part of this channel as it continues to grow. Thanks for all your great comments and feedback. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to continuing to go on this car. Next episode, like I wish to do today, but we'll get into it next episode. We'll start tearing this thing down. I do want to measure bore size, look at the inside of the cylinder walls, make sure we're good to go there when it comes time to order
the proper pistons, so that way I'm all set up. And then we'll dive into getting the interior painted. I want to get the floor taken care of. I want to get the tank dropped out from underneath, clean up the underside of the car, and undercoat that as well. So I think we'll look forward to most of those in the coming episodes. But until then, guys, thanks very much for sticking in there for this episode. Till next time, take care.